Augustine's Confessions is a book about identity. At face value, it is about Augustine's identity, his discovery of himself, as he recounts, through anguish and anxiety as he grows up and travels across North Africa to Italy and back to North Africa. But the Confessions is much more than just Augustine's pilgrimage to self-discovery. It is a work of universal scope, a journey of discovery that is relatable to everyone who reads it, because we are all on the same journey of self-discovery and longing for an identity found only in love. As we live in an age of identity, we must understand what this desire for identity really seeks. The language of affirmation or community is a shallow and hollow substitute for love. What we seek in our identity crises is principally love, for only love can provide us the foundation for true affirmation, true community, a true hope for the future of ourselves in a world of other relationships. But this identity of love cannot be just of the body, for a finite body will decay and die. That is something that Augustine hammers home, especially when he looks at the question of identity and immortality in the city of God. That, of course, is not love. For love to be real, Augustine argues, it must ultimately be immortal and eternal. Augustine wrestled with this problem 1.5 millennia ago. As we know, he too was told his identity was just bodily in his embrace of Manichaean ideology. While he was told that the body was bad and evil, and that he needed to purge himself of this fallen material form, he came to realize he was trapped inside the prison of philosophical and theological materialism, an ideology that enslaved his own self-understanding of himself and his relationship with the world. He had to turn elsewhere to free himself from these snares. As Augustine searches inward for himself, as he moves outward from Thegesta to Carthage to Rome and eventually Milan, before heading back to North Africa, we are detailed with Augustine's self-confession of his own anguish and anxiety. He was in love with the idea of love. As he says, I was in love with the idea of love itself. He wanted to be loved and to love, but until he discovered love itself, God, resided within him, he was lost in that crackling and sizzling cauldron of illicit lusts. We all know that famous painting of Augustine weeping in his own hands, his face hidden from us. He was lost in his own world of internal turbulence until he discovered the reality that the love he was seeking was in fact within him. We identify so strongly with Augustine here because, like him, we are faceless as we are lost in this search for love. And in this search for love, the meaning and destiny of our own identity. It is regrettable that people who should know how to love others are among the crudest and most vile people to wounded souls crying out for love. When Augustine came to Ambrose, Ambrose didn't mock the confused and wounded Augustine, deriding him for his selfish rebelliousness and contorted attempts to forge his own identity, as is now commonplace across our culture. Ambrose listened to Augustine, showed him compassion and kindness, and ultimately helped Augustine to become a Christian and discover the God who is love that was ever present in Augustine's own heart, present in him as he fled from his mother and his family, as he fled from his friends, as he attempted to find his own understanding of love, even though what he was searching for was always within him. The question that plagued the saintly Bishop of Hippo was the question of his own identity, as he wrote in Latin, "Mihi quaestio factus sum." I am become a question even to myself, Augustine mused. Was he an evil body with an imprisoned spirit, as the Manichaeans taught? Was he just a friend destined to weep as he lost his friends to illness, age, and travel? Or was Aurelius Augustinus an embodied soul, loved by God, destined to love God in return? Eventually, Augustine concluded that he was an embodied soul, loved by God, loved even when he, in his own rebelliousness, had not recognized the love that was always beside him and inside him. God never abandoned Augustine, for our very nature, being made in the image of God, is to be made in love for love. It was Augustine who was ignorant of this loving God, who was always beside and within him. For Augustine, the three most important realities of existence are love, interiority, and humility. It is not hard to see why this forms the trinity of human existence for Augustine. Again, to be made in the image of God is to be made in love for love. Love, of course, is not merely bodily or material, not just biological as Aristotle thought. In fact, it's not biological at all. Love is a transcendent reality. Love is the care for the soul, care for one soul and the care for another's soul. Lover and beloved come to know each other and care for each other from that knowledge of care. To know thyself is to love thyself. Only after knowing and loving thyself can one love others. This, then, entails humility. Love is humble, not prideful. The love that causes you to know yourself is an interior reality. And that interior love comes to lead you to know not only yourself, but the internal world of another. And this demands humility on the part of oneself, in knowing oneself, but also a humility in the care for another's soul. The longing for identity, then, is a longing for love, to love and be loved as one is an image of God. This is what the Confessions is principally about. The longing for identity is the desire for the care of one's soul, for one's soul to be recognized and dignified in and through love. Our nature and destiny is to love and be loved, Augustine eventually concludes. But to love and be loved means knowing oneself and knowing others. For knowledge and love are ultimately inseparable in Augustine's understanding. We, of course, implicitly agree with him. We would not say that someone who loves us doesn't know anything about us. In fact, we often implicitly acknowledge Augustine's own thinking because we are indebted to Augustine's thinking. Those who love us most and love us best are those who actually know about us. This was the second half of Augustine's understanding of the image of God, to be made in wisdom for wisdom. Knowing love and wisdom, of course, requires humility. Knowledge of love and how to love others is the only anchoring point in this cosmos that is constantly in motion and in flux, causing us anguish and anxiety. When we are filled with anguish and anxiety, what brings us that rest? What brings us that comfort? It is the love that others show us. The restlessness of the soul, which Augustine reflected upon, a restlessness which is pervasive in our world today, just as it was in Augustine's time, will only find its rest in love itself. We long to love and be loved, to be recognized as lovers and be recognized in love through a lover. In love we come to know ourselves. In love we find ourselves. This is the great insight from Augustine's Confessions. It is not an act of self-creation from which our identities are crafted. It is from an act of self-discovery that we find out who we truly are. Self-discovery for Augustine is the true reality of love, not mere self-creation. The act of discovery ultimately is the act of discovering God, from which we learn about ourselves as an image of God, an image of divine love, who can love God and be loved by God in return, and therefore also love others. This permits the dance of love between lover and beloved, God and self, which heals the wounded heart, heals the wounded soul, brings us into union with others. In this healing, our face is revealed in a smile of abundant joy, for we are loved by a loving God, and the great image of love is a smiling face. This is why C.S. Lewis, who very much walks in the footsteps of St. Augustine, says that lovers gaze in one another's eyes. This is why Dante, in the Divine Comedy, looks upon the gaze and the face of Beatrice and discovers not only Beatrice, but the loving reality and the face of God through her. In fact, this is how Augustine describes heaven in one of his sermons. If we are humble, we shall deserve to be given the bliss of seeing God fully, face to face.